Have you ever wondered what it would be like if the entire world faced destruction, and only one man and his family were chosen to survive? The story of Noah's Ark is not just a tale about animals and a boat. It's a powerful reminder of faith, obedience, and God's promise of mercy. Today, we will journey back thousands of years to relive this incredible story that changed the course of human history. The world had grown wicked. Generations had passed since Adam and Eve were driven out of the Garden of Eden. Violence filled the earth, and mankind had turned away from God. People followed their own desires, worshipped false gods, and ignored the voice of righteousness. The Bible tells us that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Imagine that for a moment, a world so corrupted that kindness, honesty, and purity were rare, almost forgotten. But amidst the darkness, there was one man who stood out, Noah. The scriptures describe him as righteous and blameless in his generation, a man who walked faithfully with God. While everyone else ignored God's laws, Noah listened, obeyed, and lived differently. God looked upon the earth and saw how corrupt it had become. His heart was grieved. He made a decision to cleanse the world with a great flood and start anew. But because of Noah's faithfulness, God chose him for a mission that would save not only his family, but also the future of all living creatures. God spoke to Noah with instructions that must have sounded unbelievable. Build yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. God gave him precise measurements, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. That's roughly the size of a modern football field in length, a massive ship unlike anything the world had ever seen. Noah didn't argue. He didn't doubt. He didn't delay. While his neighbors laughed and mocked him, Noah began to build. Imagine the scene. Day after day, hammering, sawing, gathering wood, shaping planks. People must have gathered around, shaking their heads and ridiculing him. "Look at Noah," they would say. "He's lost his mind. There is no flood. Why build a ship in the middle of dry land?" But Noah remained steadfast. He knew what God had spoken. He understood that obedience was more important than human opinion. After years of hard labor, the ark was finally complete. Its towering structure stood as a symbol of obedience and preparation. Then came the moment that must have astonished the onlookers even more. Animals began to arrive. 2 by 2 they came, lions and lambs, elephants and eagles, rabbits and ravens. Birds of every color filled the skies. Snakes slithered, and monkeys leapt from branch to branch, all moving toward the ark as if guided by an unseen hand. Noah and his family carefully led them inside, placing them in the rooms prepared for them. The ark was filled with the sounds of bleating sheep, roaring lions, and chirping birds. To the people watching, this must have been both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Still, they did not believe. They continued with their lives, ignoring the signs that God's judgment was near. At last, the day arrived. God instructed Noah, his wife, his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives to enter the ark. The door was shut, not by Noah, but by the hand of God himself. Then the rain began. At first it may have seemed ordinary, just a drizzle, then a heavy downpour. But soon the skies opened up, and water poured relentlessly. The fountains of the deep burst forth, and rivers overflowed. Within days, valleys were drowned, houses swept away, and mountains began to vanish beneath the rising waters. Outside the ark, cries of panic filled the air. People who once mocked Noah now realized too late that he had spoken the truth. They ran to higher ground, but the waters chased them relentlessly. The flood consumed everything that had breath outside the ark. Inside, Noah and his family were safe. The ark rose gently above the waters, lifted by the waves, but never destroyed. For 40 days and 40 nights the rain fell without stopping. The earth was cleansed of its corruption. Imagine the scene inside the ark, the dim light of oil lamps flickering, the constant sound of animals moving, the smell of hay and fresh water. Noah and his family tended to the creatures, feeding them, caring for them, and waiting. The storm outside raged on, but inside the ark was safety and peace. This floating sanctuary was a symbol of God's protection. For months, the waters covered the earth. Every mountain, every tree, every city, all gone. But Noah never doubted. He trusted God's promise that deliverance would come. At last, the rain stopped. Slowly, the waters began to recede. The ark drifted and eventually came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Still, Noah waited patiently. He sent out a raven, but it flew back and forth until the waters dried up. Later, he released a dove. The first time, it returned with nothing. The second time, it came back with a freshly plucked olive leaf, a sign of life returning to the earth. Finally, the third time, the dove did not return at all, showing that the land was ready once again. God then commanded Noah to come out of the ark. After more than a year inside, Noah, his family, and all the animals stepped out onto dry ground. Imagine the relief, the gratitude, the overwhelming joy of setting foot on solid land again. The first thing Noah did after leaving the ark was build an altar to God. He offered sacrifices of thanksgiving, acknowledging God's mercy and salvation, and God was pleased. Then came one of the most beautiful promises in Scripture. God set a rainbow in the sky as a sign of his covenant. Never again would he destroy the earth with a flood. The rainbow became a symbol of mercy, faithfulness, and hope. Whenever it appears, it is a reminder of God's promise to all generations. The story of Noah's Ark is more than history. It has a message for us today. It teaches us that faith in God may set us apart from the world, but it leads to salvation. It reminds us that obedience is more important than popularity. It assures us that no matter how dark things may seem, God always provides a way of escape for those who trust him. So, whenever you see a rainbow, remember Noah, remember the ark, and remember that God is faithful to his promises. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Bible Moments. We'll bring you more inspiring stories of faith, courage, and God's love every week. Don't miss the next one.